and I hope that you're really enriched from the experience. We've had some amazing people involved. I'm going to give you an abridged of my story because I'm 40, so it's quite long. The rest of it is on YouTube if you want to look it up. I also finished my first draft of my autobiography, which I've been writing for a very long time. So I feel like God is really like, come on, let's do this now. I started having panic attacks when I was 5 years old. My dad had an undiagnosed mood disorder and a breakdown, and he was my hero, and so to see him break down was like devastating. And my mum suffered with depression, and there was a divorce that had a massive impact on me in a negative way, and I guess emotionally I felt like I had to grow up quite a lot, even though in other ways I was very young. So I would say that it was some of, the way I am is a chemical imbalance, and some of it is learned behaviour. Although I have to say, I'm extremely supported by my mum and dad that are here today. And I literally wouldn't be here without my friends and family. Sorry, my best friend's just gaping at me. My escape was always dance and drama and singing and art, and that's why I'm really passionate about people having a creative outlet. My moods would switch, they still do now. I've learnt to control them better, thank you to the Holy Spirit. I can go from elated to I can't stand anybody, I want to be on my own, or very angry, and in situations where you just switch like that can be very difficult because you don't want to feel like that. And then I had a lot of what would look like drama, being a drama queen, a lot of meltdowns when I was younger. I just didn't know how to deal with how I was feeling. My first psychosis was when I was 18. I was obsessed with the carbon monoxide thing that I was going to die in my sleep. With obsession like that, like an OCD obsession, it can be anything. And my mum was like, you need to leave, because you're getting very sick. And I was studying dance, and 20 years later I'm dancing again, but there was a big gap in between. So then I would have yearly depressions, and that was just part of my life, that was just normal for me. When I was 26, I was hospitalised as a volunteer, and doctors started talking about bipolar. I had an undiagnosed split personality, so I came out of hospital worse than I went in. I was married, and I thought I was in love with somebody else because I had the same obsessions that my dad had when his marriage broke down. And so I had this mania that came out, and I had no inhibitions at all, and I'm someone that cares a lot about people, so it was like someone was taking me over completely. It feels like you're in the background of your own life. And then when I was depressed, I was like a child depressed, so very vulnerable, couldn't be left on my own. The only diagnosis that I hate diagnostics, because you can be labelled then with you are this. And if you've had cancer, you no longer have cancer when you're well. When you have a diagnosis, you're stuck with it. So when you recover, you've still got that name. And they're all very derogatory, and that's my concern. I'm not against diagnostics altogether, but I don't like negative names. As a Christian, we speak good things into our lives and into ourselves all the time. But the one thing that I would associate with is borderline personality disorder, and that was diagnosed, I was in my 30s. It basically means you're highly sensitive, but then you're very creative as well. And so if that is channeled, like today, that's why we've got all these creative things going on, because if you channel your energies and emotions into something positive, it's a safe place to do it. So I studied as a hairdresser and a masseuse. I got every job I ever went for and lost every job I ever received. After about 6 months, I would have some kind of severe relapse of something. It was different every time. which can feel very degrading because I haven't worked for 9 years. I don't get a wage, but God tells me that all the money comes from Him anyway, so, you know, there's other things that I do. But at the age of 36, which is 4 years ago, it was my last and final relapse, and I declare that over my life. Not to say that I don't have difficult times, and I can feel, when I did my ESA form and income support recently, I had about a month of depression because you have to talk about all the things that you struggle with, which makes you just feel, you know, it makes you feel miserable. I was 36 and I took an overdose. My mum was looking after me and she said, I need to go out, I can't be with you 24/7, this is very difficult for me. And in a temper tantrum, which doesn't make sense obviously, but I had a child personality, I took 24 sleeping tablets, and I don't remember much else, but I woke up in hospital and with these stickers, you know, heart monitors all over me. It's the middle of the night, and something woke up in me, you know, the real me, the adult me. I need to get better. And although it didn't feel like I could, I'd gone from sleeping for hours and hours to putting a routine in my life. I got an amazing doctor. One of the doctors I had a big hole in his shoe. And I remember thinking, how are you going to look after me when you can't even dress yourself? Honestly, sometimes if you're in hospital, if I took you into hospital, you wouldn't know who was staff and who was a patient. And recently I went back to help with artwork, and it was weird because they would give me keys, and usually I was locked in when I was sectioned, and now they're giving me keys, and I'm like, this is really weird. But what's sad about that is that I saw patients in there that were in there when I was in there, like 6 years ago. It's like a revolving, you know, you become a professionally ill person, and I don't accept that. And I think that it can be changed, and that everyone coming together, we can change it. I got good medications. There was a lot of shame about being on meds for me. As a Christian, I thought, well, I'm healed, so I need to come off medication. And I got very, very sick. Now, God works in different ways. He works with medicine, otherwise we wouldn't have doctors and things like that. But it's not enough on its own. I have to do, you know, everything else, the balance ball and that kind of thing. But I had a support worker 4 years ago, and she referred me to Mind, and there I started to paint again. And I hadn't done that for a long time, and that was part of my recovery, a massive part of my recovery. And then I went back to college, and I did level 3 counselling, and I got discipline back. You know, you had to write essays every week, you had to really look at yourself and analyse things and study, and it was lovely to say, I'm not unemployed, I'm a student. Because in some ways, my identity is in who I am as a daughter of God, rather than what I do as a job. But it is lovely to say that you do something that you want to do. And then I went on to have prayer ministry in this church, and then I did a pastoral internship here, and I got to pray with people. It's a bit like counselling, but you bring God into it. And that was amazing for me to see people go from the journey that I've been and go through that with them. You do it with 2 people, and I had an amazing guy called Chaz, and he was so supportive. And I got to do lots of different things. I got to do work on the jam team, and they go into schools and speak about God. And although I wasn't being paid, I was considered staff. And when we went on a trip somewhere, I was like, I'm staff, you know, I matter, I belong here, and I'm really big about living your dreams, and that's in our orange section of the balance board. This is just some of my artwork that I've done over the last 4 years. I designed the balance ball because I wanted something that would help me get better. I'd seen other things, other models, but they weren't very visual, they weren't helpful to me. So I thought, no, I'm going to design something colourful. I love rainbows, and look at all the different areas. So I looked at 7 different areas. And I think the balance board is also about preventative measures. It's maintenance, and it's also education to people. So someone who works like 60 hours, they might think they've got an amazing life, but realise they're not spending any time with their friends or family at all. The ball on the left is when I was unwell, because you can see I wasn't doing much. And the other side is my life now. Nothing is ever perfect, but we don't have to be perfect, but we can strive to be the best that we can be. For me, nutrition is my struggle. With the medication, it makes you crave sugar, and you put on quite a lot of weight. But I was quite happy when I weighed myself at my mum's yesterday. I'd gone down a stone bracket, even though it was £1. I'm like, I'm in the different stone bracket. The thing is, I had to choose my mind. So my mind was more important. And now I try so hard to concentrate on my body. It's not that I don't know what to eat, it's I don't know how to stop eating. But it is something that will be tackled, and I will get there. I'm doing lots of exercise, and I'm loving exercise, which is the blue part of the balance ball. I'm dancing all the time, fast walking and swimming, and I can actually say I love exercise. Now my family will be like, oh my gosh, we're not an exercise family, but my sister was quite an inspiration actually, because she's lost tons of weight, but more than that, she's readdressed her eating habits, and she started doing a fitness, which was like a dance, like a Zumba thing, and I went along with her, and to be honest, when I first went, I'm like, this is hideous. And she was like, this is really good, isn't it? And I'm looking like Deborah, no, it's not good. And it was pain, I was sweating out of my eyes, I'm like, what's that? But after a while, I started to really love it. Honestly, everyone's got something for each area of that balance ball that they will enjoy. It's just finding the right thing. When people say they're not creative, doing your accounts is creative. No, everybody is creative, because God made us and He is the creator, so we are therefore all creative. That's it, that's the end of it. I've never given up on my dreams, and I've got so many of them, and my mum always says, but Ruth, you want to do everything. And I'm like, yeah, but why not? Why can't I do everything? I just need to be able to focus on each one at a time. The purple part of the ball is the faith, and because this is not a Christian event, because God said to me that it needs to include everyone of all different faiths and all cultures, is that, that they all come together and respect each other. But you do need to have a faith in something. If it's not God, there needs to be in values or a community, or you do need to have faith in something to enjoy life and to have a support system. The pink area is friends and family, and I am very, very blessed. When you've been, manic, and the things that you say and do are pretty embarrassing, and it takes a long time to build relationships back up again, but I'm very blessed that I have so many people that are supportive and that understand. So this event is about making the balance ball tangible. It's about linking people up. Our vision for the future is to be a profit organisation that go into schools and do workshops with people, like dancing and singing, to bring the balance ball into, it's in a hospital at the moment with the patients, and to, for example, go into a workplace that's very stressful and offer them massages, so making sure that they are, looked after in all of those areas. Me and Sandy, we don't have small ideas. We don't have small ideas, so we know that, I said to her, next year, imagine how big it will be next year. And it's not about the amount of people, it's about if you just touch one person and it moves them to talk to somebody else. A lot of people can't talk about their mental health, they're embarrassed. And let me tell you, there is nothing to be ashamed of. And if you go and get help earlier, then you will recover much quicker and you won't need all the extra help. You do just need to talk to someone. Just find someone that you trust, and speak to them. And you'll be surprised, there isn't anything that any doctor hasn't heard or any other person hasn't heard. You think it's terrible, you know, that I'm thinking all these negative thoughts. At some point or another, you know, I think mental health is the most important thing, because whatever you have physically wrong with you, if you have a positive attitude, you will get better. You know, so it is all about linking the body and the mind together, and spiritually as well. I've just done year 1 at Eastgate Supernatural School. They've changed the name to Spiritual School now because supernatural freaks people out. But basically, it's not ghosts and stuff like that. It's the way that God speaks to us. So we've been learning about prophecy, which is basically hearing from God and sending a message to someone to encourage them. Like a best friend would tell you something and you tell someone else. That's all it is, and people make it all, you know, what is it? There's nothing to be afraid of. And I'm just going to get more and more like that. So I'm going to go for year 2 in September. It's the best thing I've ever done. I have some of my wonderful people with me today, Brian and Helen, and they'll be speaking later, and Helen's been massively involved in all the art areas. Identity is really important, that you know who you are and that you like who you are, and if you don't, there's lots of ways of finding out. I have, my biggest dream at the moment is to preach. I spoke to an elder the other day and he said, well, you don't have a problem speaking. And I was like, no, I don't. I'm the other way, like, how do I stop talking? But I want to encourage people to love who they are, in their giftings, to find out their purpose, what they want to do. And I'm passionate about people loving life. And I think that mental health, severe mental health, can be eradicated. Definitely, and that's one of my plans. I still have my dappy days. The other day, because I've had so much on my mind for happy heads, I left the my card in the machine. Then remembered and went back. Then pressed something by accident, and money came out, and I just walked off. And someone chased me with 50 quid and says, "Just come out." I was like, "Thank goodness you told me." So when I was at school, people used to, I remember my A-level teacher would say, some days you're a B student and some days you're an E student. Because I would literally, concentration-wise, just switch from day to day, and I could still be like that. I could be totally on the ball or on another planet. And that is something that I still struggle with. But as a child, they put me down a class because I was in the top set, and I felt stupid for so many years, and I'm not stupid at all. So don't let anyone put you in a box. I want everyone to know that they are valuable, that you're all gifted, that you all matter, and to forgive. Forgiving is very, very important for you to move on with your life. And God says to me, remember how you were when you were 5, and you were free, and you were happy, and you didn't care who you were a superhero, different one, you know, every day, and you didn't care if you danced in front of people and played and created and used your imagination. And then over years, you get that knocked out of you, and someone hurts you, or you're disappointed. So basically, as adults, we become quite cynical. So I have become more mature in some ways, but more childlike, which is different from being childish, which means I wonder every day when I get up and I want to cry that my mind is so quiet, that I can do things that I couldn't do before. And our tagline is encouraging, empowering and educating. And yeah, I just want to say to you, never give up on something that you want to do, because we were all made to be special in our different ways. Thank you.